So, Nikolaj, the film classic. Why the film classic?
I don't know. It was. I had my original name in Denmark. It's called Nikolaj.
Okay.
Nikolaj Anderson, and I sort of felt I had to sound a bit more uh, different. I don't know. I had that feeling I was nervous. Somebody who knew me would Google me. So I was a bit hesitant on that. And then I was like, the film classic. It sounded a bit cool, and I thought, most of the films I review is primarily older films. So
Do
so
you
I felt it
prefer older
made
films?
yeah. So it made sense for me to call the channel the film classic, but I called it many years ago, actually, before I started really making good videos.
Yeah.
So it was how should I say, a process.
And have you always preferred older movies, or is that just something that's recent?
Oh, the last 10 years, I think when I have loved film since I was a kid.
Yeah.
And then suddenly I sort of felt I have always been a bit old school. I loved older things. And
Yeah.
then I started discovering old, actually Danish films, and then I sort of started interested in British films and Hollywood films, and it sort of you suddenly when I was a teenager, so I had to sort of find out what is my interest really, in
Yeah.
films, and then suddenly I sort of found something for me that there was something about the sense of the nostalgic feeling
Yeah.
about these types of films I really love. So yeah, that was why it became this, but I can't really explain how it happened. It's just it's a feeling. I think you probably know the feeling yourself.
Yeah. I find myself going back all the more, like 60s and 70s. That's my era. I go back
That's
and
your
watch,
era.
yeah,
Yeah,
I go back and watch those movies all the time.
yeah,
And I feel that I'm sort of relate to them better as well. I feel that they're telling me about life now more than,
yeah, exactly.
you know what
But
I
that's the cool thing about it, because when I sort of see modern films, I don't watch that many modern films.
No,
Uh,
I don't.
but when I see something, I think about, oh, I have seen this in an older film.
And also, people in older films, I don't know, they just seem more adult to me.
Yeah, yeah, and
They just seem,
sophisticated.
they're characters. They're not just sort of avatars of a type of person or something. I don't know. Kind of, when
No,
you
but I understand the feeling. Yeah,
those old film stars, I know that they were stars and everything. They were glamorous, but they feel like real people as well at somehow.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But did your parents introduce you to films?
Well, they kind of did. My dad used to sit
Hmm.
there and he used to watch musicals.
Oh, yeah, I love musicals as well. So,
Yeah, he'd sit there blubbing. He was crying his eyes out, and I was like,
okay.
I was a cynical boy. It's silly. And I wanted to watch horror films and sci-fi
Yeah,
films and stuff. But
yeah,
he
yeah.
introduced me to. He knew all the film stars. My dad, when he was in his 20s, he used to go to the cinema all the time, and he kept a diary of all the films he watched. But he never called
Okay.
them by the name. He said, "I went to see the new detective story. I went to see the new western, and all this sort of stuff."
All right. So he
So he
didn't know
knew
the titles.
no, he didn't know the directors or anything. He just knew the actors, and he was really good on actors. And he introduced me to Humphrey Bogart.
Yeah.
He'd tell me every time, the best actor ever, Mike, is Humphrey Bogart. And he'd say that as if it was
Hmm.
the first time he'd said it, which was really annoying. Um,
Yeah.
but I did get to know it through them, yeah. And my mum liked Sound of Music, which I noticed you reviewed the other week.
Yes. Yeah.
She loved that film. Though now
Yeah.
her favorite film is Gladiator.
Gladiator.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's a bit of a
Yeah, yeah.
change. Sound of Music to Gladiator. It's a bit of a change.
Gladiator. That they are both epics.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and I think she went from Christopher Plummer to Russell Crowe.
Yeah, a bit of the same. But you also you studied some films as well or was it literature or something you have talked about it on your
Yeah,
channel?
I studied literature at university, like English literature and Spanish.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did it sort of, it's called joint honors, and then I did film masters. And the way they did it in England was they started from scratch. and they did it in a sort of, it was a sort of crash masters really.
Yeah.
And your hat looks great. Don't keep it just. It's fine.
Good, good, good.
So yeah, I did a film, and I loved it. I loved learning about film, even though mostly I taught myself. The lectures were a bit crap, but I taught
Okay.
myself really.
Ah,
Yeah.
I
What
know
about
the feeling.
you?
I have studied. I went to a school in Denmark as well, trying to make films, short films.
Oh really?
I did it for a year, but it was during COVID, when it was really locked down. So many of the meetings we had to do was on Zoom actually, and it wasn't a good experience for me.
Okay.
So I ended up sort of thinking about this is not my dream. I think I love sort of more discussing films
Yeah.
and watching films. And I've since I was like 12 or 13, I wrote reviews online about films I like. So I sort of started. I don't know. I wouldn't call myself a reviewer or a critic, but I just had that thing. I like to more express how I feel about films than making films.
Yeah. I'm the same. I had exactly the same experience. I did a crash course in filmmaking, and
Yeah.
I realized about halfway through, I'm just no good at this. And I don't actually enjoy it because
No.
we were taught by industry professionals, and they were quite miserable people, I thought.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I know the feeling.
They're so cynical, they
Yeah,
crushed my dreams. So I thought, oh, to hell with this. I'd rather
yeah,
go and
yeah.
watch
But
you write things.
it's a bit the same for me. Every time I had I talked to them about if I had a problem. It wasn't they wouldn't try to help me. They
Yeah,
just said, get along with it.
no, I don't. I think I'm convinced that people who work in film are the most miserable people.
Exactly. Exactly. Unless you are Steven Spielberg or something like that.
Yeah. I watched,
Yeah, okay.
talking to Steven Spielberg, I'm watching this program called The Night Gallery from the 70s. It's like the
I've heard
Twilight
about
Zone.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like spooky stories, and it's presented by Rod Serling. And
Yeah.
Steven Spielberg directed 2 episodes of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Incredible.
He was only around 2021 or something like
I
that.
know. And he was working with Joan Crawford in one of the episodes. I couldn't
Yeah, yeah,
believe it.
yeah. Yeah,
Amazing.
but it's quite amazing how he ended up, how he did.
I know.
And then he made the Columbo
Yeah.
episode,
The first
and
one. Yeah.
yeah,
That's
and
brilliant.
then yeah, exactly, one of my favorites. And then the same year, Duel, the film, the TV movie.
Love that
Yeah,
movie.
yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly. I sort of like his earlier stuff
Yeah.
better.
Same here. Yeah.
Maybe because he was a bit more original.
I
Uh,
mean,
it's
I watched Jaws again this year on the big
Yeah,
screen. It's such a great film. It really
great.
works. It's so good.
Yeah,
And it's
exactly.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely and at that time probably because he has so much problems making it probably made it better.
Exactly. But what about, old Danish movies? Were you interested in old Danish cinema or not?
Nah, not anymore. It was sort of it was mostly sort of comedies I started watching. There was you wouldn't even know them. I know you like Carl Dreyer, but it's nothing like that. They were not very good, but it was sort of they were black and white, and I love black and white stuff.
Yeah.
So I was sort of starting there. So it was sort of yeah, there were comedies, and I remember. I remember one of the first American black and white Hollywood films I watched was Some Like It Hot.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember when Jack Lemmon was dressed like a woman and dancing with them. I can't remember his name, the man
Yeah.
who was in love with him. I just thought this is hilarious. That's something about it.
Jack Lemmon is so good in that film. That is one of
Yeah,
the great performances, I think.
yeah, exactly. I think that film really holds up quite well. I want to review it one day, but sometimes it's like it can be difficult to review things that are funny
Yeah.
because comedy, especially, is very very subjective, and and
Yeah.
and
It's hard
and
to
it's
talk about, isn't it? Yeah, that's
yeah,
true.
exactly. So you have to find a specific angle to if you have to talk about it. I think because I sort of I have reviewed some comedies, but mostly I like to review something that isn't related so much to comedy.
And what's been your favorite review you've done so far on your channel?
that I have made.
Yeah,
It's difficult. I don't like my own videos.
you don't.
No, I never really get satisfied. That's I'm very critical about what, but you have to understand when I don't speak English every day, I
Yeah.
always have that sense of I don't speak proper English.
Well,
So
I
so
think your English is amazing. I think it's great.
oh, thank you. But when I make the videos, I sort of feel really critical about it. So but maybe it's something about watching me. I mostly but I have some videos that have more views than others, but it's not necessarily my favorites.
Yeah, I'm the same.
But
Yeah.
now I have to think about. I did I made a brief encounter
Yes. Yeah.
in the summertime. I was actually quite proud of that video,
Yeah.
and it was not because my cat suddenly showed up. It wasn't about that, but I was really I thought I have a lot to say about that film. So when I think about it, that's one of my favorites.
I think that film, when you first see it, it seems like a sort of simple love story, but actually, when you
Yeah,
look, there's more to it. It's a beautiful
it
film. Actually, it's
it's
really.
really beautiful. I first time I watched it was with my dad, and we were like, this is very very good, and we sort of talked about it afterwards. It was sort of like then we had to watch it again, and it was like, oh, this is really 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 now it's one of my all time favorites.
Yeah, same here. I
It's
remember.
almost it feels almost a bit like a I can't remember I can't describe it, but almost like a it's so intense
Yeah,
film.
yeah.
So it really gets under your skin.
I remember reading that Andre Bazin, who was the main critic in the French Nouvelle Vague, well, in the
Uh,
late 40s when he first saw it, he said this is one of the great films after the war. And
yeah,
then because they all turned against British cinema a bit, he went back on that, and I feel a bit bad about that because it was one of the best films after the war. It was great.
it was, and I think it's David Lean's best film,
Yeah. Although
even though he made a lot of great stuff.
yeah, the Dickens films are fantastic. They're great, but yeah, I think Brief Encounter is his best. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. But what about you? What are your favorite videos of what you have made?
I'm the same as you, right? I do these videos, and I never know what people are going to like.
Yeah, exactly.
And I do this video, and I think it's really good. And I did one about John Carpenter's The Fog, which is a kind of cult
Mm,
horror movie. No one
yeah.
watched it. No one watched
No.
it at all. And then the next week, I did one about Saturn 3, which is this really bad movie with Kirk Douglas and Farrah Fawcett. And that got
I
loads
don't
of
think
views.
I don't think I've watched that, so maybe I have to.
Do you know who
Uh,
made it? It was Stanley Donen, who did Singing in the Rain.
no.
It was his last film, I
Oh,
think. It was a sci-fi movie. Weird.
okay, cool. I would try to look at that video up on because I try to watch all of your videos, but I must admit I haven't.
Well, you can't, can you? There's not enough time, is there? I mean,
No, no,
I'm falling
exactly.
behind. I'm falling behind with so many people's videos. I feel bad about it, but I try to
Oh
keep
yeah.
up because it is
Yeah,
difficult.
exactly, and you can always go back. But I have to admit, I would give you credit. Some of your videos I have watched many times. Your Hitchcock video from you made 2 years ago or something like that.
Yeah.
I have watched that video 3 times.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
Yeah, no, but it's because I have sort of at that time I didn't see some Hitchcock films in that specific time, but here
Well,
now in the last couple of years I have.
you've done quite a lot of videos on Hitchcock, haven't you? I remember when you did
Yeah,
Lifeboat, and I thought that was great because so
yeah,
many people ignore that movie, and that is such a
it's
great.
really that's also I think I don't know if you can call it underrated, but
It's,
it
it's so good. It's so good.
yeah, and a bit terrifying actually. I feel almost claustrophobic when I'm watching it.
Yeah, the whole movie
Yeah,
and just in that lifeboat.
yeah, exactly. And the actors are very incredible.
Yeah, they are incredible. Yeah.
Yeah,
One of my
but
favorite videos of yours, though, is I think I told you this, is that wonderful rant that you did to
yeah,
Cameron. I love that video. I think
yeah. What
I'd like to see you
it,
do more of that, actually. But if you're in,
I did it before I started. I know the thing is it's difficult to explain, but I did make some videos before I started making reviews that was more comedy related.
yeah,
So I didn't know do it before people started watching my channel. So it's more like experimental. And then that video was called "Life is Meaningless" or something like that. And And but I remember you suddenly had watched it, and I thought I had deleted it, but it was good you saw it.
I love it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, but it's fun thing because I I started also making Colombo videos, as you know.
Yeah,
But I got very, it wasn't like I did enjoy making it, but suddenly I felt like I have to do something else
yeah.
because suddenly I get stuck in it.
Yeah, I've felt that, I mean, I'm fitting at the moment, I'm a bit in a rut with the channel, I don't know what to keep, whether I think some videos like I'm doing sort of a Shakespeare retrospective and a Pasolini retrospective. I don't know if people are really interested, I don't know if I'm interested. It's sometimes
No,
your
so
motivation goes, doesn't it?
yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think it's a good thing, sort of experiment a bit. That's also what I thought it's fun idea to talk
Yeah.
like we do now because it's a bit different, and it's good to have a conversation.
And have you got any do you line up Christmas movies, or are you not into Christmas?
I do enjoy. I have some favorites. It's a Wonderful Life, of course.
Yeah, that's
And there was I can't remember. There's also a Cary Grant film, The Bishop's Wife. Do you know that?
Oh yeah, I've seen that a long time ago. Yeah, yeah,
It's not the best, but it's quite cute actually.
yeah.
And there's
Oh,
a Lubitsch film. I can't remember the name. With
oh, is it Shop Around the Corner?
yes,
I
that's
love
great.
that film. Yeah, that's a great film. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's some of my favorites Christmas film, and the one with Santa Claus, oh,
Oh,
with the little girl. I can't remember the name
is
right
it
now.
Miracle on 34th Street? Is it
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
I like that as well.
yeah.
But
I
there's some of
I like Fanny and Alexander by Ingmar Bergman. I mean, I know a lot of people find it depressing, but I just think it's such a beautiful
but it's
film.
set it's the setting is during the Christmas time.
Yeah, and that
There's
Christmas
some
party is amazing. It's the best Christmas
yeah.
party in movies. I love it.
Exactly, and I understand that. I sometimes it's not necessary. But if it gives you sort of a sort of a feeling of
Yeah.
Christmas, then they can almost feel
And I've got to ask you while I've got you on camera, how's Milo? Is he all right?
he is okay. He is okay. He's sleeping. He's sleeping. Yeah. So he's doing good, and he's responsible for my most I think watched video in this. So I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah, all that effort you put into those reviews, then it's the cat, isn't it?
Yeah, it's wonderful. Sometimes that just happens. I like that. It's unpredictable. But what in terms of what you work with subtitles or something like that? Your
Yeah,
job.
I started out subtitling like TV shows and films that are already pre-edited, but now
Yeah.
I work on live news and sport. So
No.
I'm sort of half hour on, half hour off through the day, and I'm
Okay.
subtitling. Oh, I mean, cricket, Formula One, football. Oh God, it's so depressing. But yeah,
Yeah.
and then I do bits of the news. But that's my job.
Okay.
Yeah, for people who are deaf and hard of hearing.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I so yeah. So you have to watch those videos over and over. I imagine.
Well, no, that's the good thing. I used to have to do that, but now with live, once it's done, I never have to look at it ever again.
Okay.
So that's
Okay.
great. But like if I was working on a film in the old days, you'd have to watch every scene 3 or 4 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mind you, it made me appreciate some films more, Like when I subtitled Manhattan, Woody Allen.
Hmm.
I realized just how well made that film is.
Yeah. It's quite beautiful.
Yeah, it's an extraordinary
It.
movie. The use of
Uh,
music, everything.
I have to rewatch it. I remember thinking I wish I liked it more, but maybe I would get a new appreciation over time.
Yeah, I think like some films I've subtitled that I've worked on, you do realize that they're much better than if you just watch them through. They're much better than
Yeah.
you realize. I remember
Oh, yeah.
watching Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior, and I could watch it, slowly, and the editing and everything is brilliant.
Mm.
It's so good.
I would imagine that you see it from a different perspective suddenly.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you realize how much work is going into it because you find that those films that are done by good directors are
Yeah.
harder to subtitle because
Exactly.
they're using the sound more and they're using the editing better. It's really instructive.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that. But do you have the opposite problem? Some films that you normally like suddenly became worse.
Yes. Yeah, I remember there was this British war movie. It's called 633 Squadron. It's a terrible film.
Hmm.
But when I subtitled it, I realized how bad it really was because the editing is awful. And you just keep
Uh,
going back to the same shot over and over again of this plane going,
uh,
meow. It's just ridiculous. Top
yeah.
Gun. Top Gun is also as bad. That's a terrible film.
There's you have also wrote you have your website where you have written all kinds of
Yeah.
articles. But what was the inspiration for that?
Well, to be honest, it was because I tried to get into film criticism and I wrote for online websites for a while. But I
Yeah.
didn't really feel I was getting anywhere. I was getting a bit jaded. And so
Hmm.
I thought what I want to do is I just want to collect all the stuff I've written in one place
Hmm.
so I can access it and other people can access it. And until I did my YouTube channel, no one accessed it. But I think now more people are reading it.
You have you. I think there's a lot of you have many supportive subscribers.
Yeah, no, and I've been really lucky actually. I've had no trolls. I've had a
No,
couple of
no,
because you
that's
think when
great.
you go out on the internet you're going to get bad things, don't you? But
Yeah,
I've been
but
lucky.
but
People have been really kind.
but I think what you do and also what I do is because we don't speak so much about new stuff.
That's right. Yeah,
Because if we just talked about, I don't know, some franchise films who everybody has opinions on, I think we will get more criticism.
yeah. Because I noticed when you did a film that was very modern. I'm trying to remember what it was, and immediately I noticed that you got more comments. But that's
Yeah,
the problem, isn't it? You might get a negative comment. You might get someone who,
that is a possibility, and it's I've always trying to do that. I don't want to mainly focusing on. I primarily love talking about old films, but I also want to sometimes maybe discuss a newer ones.
yeah, yeah,
But of course,
absolutely.
there is that possibility you will get more criticism. But I can handle criticism as I don't mind people disagreeing as long as it isn't negative.
Yeah, as long as it's not sort of just nasty, as long as it's
Yeah,
constructive. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Because I think it's good to have a conversation about something.
Yeah, like I had this guy, I did a video about Cassavetes, where I
Mm,
said I didn't really like Cassavetes very much. And he was like, what? How can you not like
yeah.
Cassavetes? He's the greatest. But then he became a subscriber. It was like, it wasn't a nasty, it was a kind of
No,
constructive chat.
exactly. I actually sometimes enjoy that. That I love when people love the things that I do, but I also appreciate the opposite.
Yeah, I agreed.
Uh,
Yeah, it makes it more
yeah,
interesting.
and I have to admit, one day I will want to discuss Psycho with you.
What's that? Which one?
Psycho,
Oh, yeah, Psych.
because I think we have the same opinion on that, and it's not necessarily because we are loving it as much as other people does.
Yeah, I've always had the same feeling about that film. I think the first 45 minutes or so, until she gets killed in the shower and he
Yes,
cleans up. Brilliant. I think some of
yeah,
the best things Hitchcock ever did. After
exactly.
that, frankly, I could leave the rest of the movie, just
I feel the same. I've always felt it. You were the first one who said exactly how I felt.
yeah. I mean, it's just like the rest of the movie is just a generic thriller. It's
Exactly.
it's got some good bits, like when he falls down the stairs and when you see,
Yeah, it's cool. And
but
and the ending shot is also cinematically great. But yeah,
but the thing is, I mean, anyone could have directed it, to be honest.
I
Whereas
would.
the
Yeah,
first 45 minutes is so incredible. You're inside her head, you got all
yeah,
the guilt, and it's all ramping up, and it's just brilliant.
yeah. If he had made it like one of his Hitchcock presents,
Yeah.
then I think it would be outstanding.
Yeah, I agree with you. I totally agree. I don't know. I mean, people have disagreed with me about that a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but then I'm
But
the guy who doesn't like Die Hard, so what do I know? Yeah.
yeah, and I don't either. So
Yes.
good. But are there any films you haven't watched? You are guilty. You haven't seen yet.
Well, it's interesting you asked me that because one of the main films that I haven't seen that I think you've reviewed on your site,
Hmm?
Best Years of Our Lives.
Yeah,
I had not seen it. I avoided it for years, and I finally watched it about 2 weeks ago.
you have.
And it is a really interesting film, and I really enjoyed it.
It
And
is. Yeah.
And I'm glad, quite a lot of subscribers said you should watch this, and I did really enjoy it. Amazing performances. Dana Andrews and Frederick March, I thought were fantastic in it. Really,
I agree, and it has it's long, but
yeah,
but
it's long.
it's also quite moving.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I think at the end it gets a bit too sentimental for me. But
understand that.
I think that the relationship with the guy with the hooks and his girlfriend is a bit sentimental. But
Yeah,
the rest of the movie is so good. It's so well observed and well acted. It's fantastic.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm happy you have watched it. I remember actually you wrote it. I think was it on? I don't know if it was my video or something, but I remember you have said it.
Yeah, I meant to get around. There's quite a few films that I've not actually seen. I'm trying to think of a major one that do you know? Well, I tell you what, this is a bit of a confession for you. I've never watched Toy Story.
Okay. Yeah. All right. But you're not a big fan of Disney or Pixar films, well?
No, I like Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli, but
Yeah.
I don't like Disney and Pixar. They actually give me a headache if I go and see them at the
Okay.
cinema. They make me feel ill.
Interesting. Yeah. I maybe understand with Pixar, but I have to admit I love the old Disney films. But I have a personal connection to them, you know?
What's the personal connection? You mean watched them when you're a kid? You mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I sort of had that feeling of watching Snow White or Bambi or something like that. They mean something to me.
And what's your guilty, film that you haven't seen that you feel you should? What's your most guilty?
I have to think. Lawrence of Arabia, I think.
Oh well, yeah, but it is long though, isn't it? I mean, blood.
Yeah. Okay, I think I've seen 10 minutes of it.
You've
I
seen it.
didn't. Yeah, but I haven't watched that. There are more, but I think that must be one of those. Also because everybody talks about it as one of the greatest.
Yeah, I think it's more of a director's film, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay.
What's a film that you love that most other people hate?
Uh, ooh, that's a great question. Uh, love that everybody hates. I don't know actually. I can't remember. It's so diff. I don't know if I love something that everyone hates.
Yeah.
But I can say that when I was a kid, I liked the Star Wars prequels.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
went to see them at the cinema. They were quite fun. I
yeah.
like
But I know many people hate them.
Revenge of the Sith is quite a good movie, I think.
Yeah, I think I don't necessarily love it, but I enjoy it.
Yeah. I mean, Hayden
What about?
Christensen. It's great to see him get, burned, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That's quite cool.
I was
Yeah,
cheering. But
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Well,
And then
I'd nominate a film by a Danish director, Nicholas Winding Refn,
okay,
Valhalla Rising, which
I've heard about it. I've never seen it.
yeah, it's no one likes it except me. It's a very, very
Okay,
slow Viking movie where hardly
okay,
anything happens. But I love
okay.
it.
Maybe I have to watch it one day just for to discover it.
Yeah, make sure you've had a lot of coffee or some
Okay,
sugar rush.
I
Keep
will
awake.
keep I will keep that in mind.
And then what are you doing for Christmas? What is a traditional Christmas over there?
For yeah, it is very relaxed. I'm with my parents, and then my brother, his girlfriend, and my nephew will also join, and my sister.
Oh, okay, nice,
So
nice.
it will be sort of Christmas in the house, and it's just but a bit calm, not so much. We don't we try to make it as calm as possible, so there isn't any. We don't we love that feeling that not doing so much about it makes
Yeah,
it more cozy. I don't know
yeah.
if that makes sense.
And what food do you eat? What's the dinner?
It's sort of I don't know the word in English actually, but it's sort of a pig.
Right.
But some Danish also eats duck.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's sort of a traditional food kind of. What about you?
Yeah, it's turkey over here. That's what we
It's
eat.
turkey. Yeah,
Yeah, roast potatoes. Yeah, big Yorkshire
yeah.
pudding. Yeah.
But you also have the 25th of December.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Christmas. Yeah, that's when we have our main meal. Yeah,
Yeah, all right. We have the 24th.
yeah, I like that tradition. I wish we had that
Yeah, yeah,
better.
yeah. Do you don't sing in Britain?
Well, we do have midnight mass on
Ah,
Christmas Eve, which I have been to, but I don't like it because it's cold. I just
okay.
want to be in bed.
Yeah, I understand
I
that.
I think my brother quite likes it actually. My family, some of my family go. Yeah,
So you will celebrate with your family?
yeah. It'd be just me, my mum, my sister, and her husband this year. Very quiet. That's all right.
Yeah, yeah, but I don't necessarily thinking that having too many people celebrating together will be better.
I know it can be difficult that actually.
I can then you also have to buy many Christmas presents.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right.
Uh,
I haven't even started that yet. Oh, okay. Yeah.
oh, I was a good time. We sort of here in my family we have like this year we will 3 months before Christmas we sort of want to figure out who do we want to give presents to. It's
Oh,
difficult to explain, but it sort of makes it more easy.
oh wow, that is planning. God
Yeah, it
bless.
is. It is. So you will be surprised by Danish people, I think.
So, oh, okay, right, okay. And what about? Do you like horror films or sci-fi or no?
It's not my. It's I don't. You know, I love some sci-fi films, Blade Runner, for example. But I'm not as I should say I'm not a sci-fi or horror fan.
Yeah.
I did sort of like that was on Netflix that television series called Black Mirror. Do you know that?
Oh yeah, Charlie Brooker. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and I thought especially the first couple of seasons was very great because it has great combination between actual science fiction and horror.
yeah. I've not caught a lot of that. I need to go back and watch that actually. Yeah, it was
It's
very
very
popular in
disturbing.
the UK. Yeah, it's very popular. Yeah,
Yeah, but the newer seasons I didn't particularly like, but it had the originality in the old seasons. But so that was something I really liked as actually modern stuff, you know.
it's interesting because he started out more as a comedian. Actually, he's like a really sarcastic TV reviewer.
Yeah, I've
And he
heard about
started
that.
making this show, and it became this massive international success. It was like it's kind of interesting.
Cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, but sometimes it can happen. But there's also a lot of dark comedy in it.
yeah, yeah.
So, but I know you're a big horror fan. I'm sorry, I'm not as keen on it. But what is the name of an old 40s film, and a British film, an anthology? I think with one with it's
Yeah,
called
Dead of
what's it
Night.
called?
It's called Dead of
Yes,
yeah. Michael
that's
Redgrave,
great.
the dummy. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that makes me scary actually.
yeah. That
But
was a,
but
that was an interesting film because they made it during the war, and it's got
yeah,
about three different directors on it. It's quite
yeah,
ambitious, really.
exactly.
Yeah,
But you can also feel it changes by the different directors. I think
yeah,
it starts off a bit. I don't know. The beginning is not the best, I think, but then suddenly it becomes darker and darker, and suddenly you feel that sense of dreamlike illusion, and you're going into that nightmare. You know,
yeah. It was well, it was one of Bunwell's favorite films, which was
was it? I
yeah.
didn't know that.
I thought that was
Cool.
really interesting. Mind you, Bunwell also really liked this British horror film from the 70s called Scream and Scream Again, which is terrible. It's just the worst.
Okay, I don't know that, but I must try to look it up. But that's the great that's the one once again a great thing about you. You have some films you're discussing that I don't know about,
Yeah.
and then suddenly I have to look it up, and some of them I have watched, and it's a good thing for me to discover something I don't particularly know so much about.
Yeah, I mean, I like that as well. I like watching it, reviews that you've done of classic Hollywood films that I've not seen. Because I
Yeah,
think you just reviewed Holiday, is that right?
yeah.
And I've never watched that film. So,
No, but I hadn't either. It was a new experience for me actually. So
yeah, and I think it is nice to learn new stuff and get good recommendations. I find that
thanks.
there's some people who don't like that. They want to just read about what they already know about. And I don't
Yeah,
understand that. It's a bit of an odd,
it's boring.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
What's the point? You're not learning anything. You're not getting it.
No, exactly.